There's no doubt that everything has already been revealed. Over the course of these 5,000 years, everything's already been revealed. So much stuff has been covered over. But the original revelations have been revealed. I mean, what more do you need of a revelation in Moses coming down from Sinai and God revealing himself on Sinai? And then even then people don't believe it because it's all covered. And so these coverings have come down even more so today. When people what do you need? Look at all these things. All these things were manuscripts, and now they're books. They're books, and now they're all at the touch of a finger. So it's all covered. So the real essence is, actually, that's why I use that word, comes from the word Essenes. The Essene group was a Jewish group. The Essene group was a celibate group. All this stuff of Tahara and Kedusha, and this is what all these things teach you. All these things of Niddah and of separation of blood, and the idea of being a Zav. All these things teach you that the whole goal is some sort of it's a celibacy. It's not a celibacy, but it's a celibacy of using that energy for one's own evolution and elevation. It's bringing the Yesod down, sometimes to Malkuth, but also up to its original source. Its original source is in the brain, as everyone knows. It's in the brain of some sort, and then maybe up to Keter. And so, where how to use this sperm, this seed. Now, something came up yesterday that came up about the 3 and the 7. There are two numbers in Judaism, the 3 and the 7. But what people forget is that the first Shabbos was supposed to be after the third day of creation. But the world wasn't ready for it, so it couldn't do it on the third day of creation. Had to come down to the 7th day. So in looking at what the third day of creation is and was, it's vegetation. Vegetation on the earth. All seed with seed and stuff like that. Vegetation on the earth came in on the third day. And then man only comes in later, you see. But the vegetation was the third day. And so that's when this big deal is of Shabbos. And then, we still celebrate the third day very much because Shabbos doesn't end till after the third day of the next week. You see, so the Havdalah doesn't have to be till the end of the third day of the following week. So in a certain sense, that's like 10 days there. It's a 7 and a 3. And it's a backwards. The number 3 also is a big deal because you separate 3 days. And even there's 3 days also in the idea of Isru Hag. And actually until Pesach, we're in this period of the third day right now. And this Isru Hag has to do with the seed and the digestion of the seed. And so all these things come in and they're the seed, and it's a 3-day digestion. And the idea of Moses with the 3 days, and the whole idea of not eating, which is and fasting, and the whole idea of fasting as a celibacy, And the whole idea of that we're in our sense, in our kedusha, we're malakim underneath, and our godly soul isn't really involved in the flesh, so to speak. The godly soul lives forever, has no idea with the 70 years of physical life, goes on forever. So it's the idea of identifying with the godly soul. Once you identify with the godly soul, your decision-making processes are different. And you understand phrases like, a day in the life of God is like 1,000 years in the life of God is like yesterday when it is past. You see, it's a different kind of concept of time. And so the whole point of all this is that if you're living with the godly soul, there's no problem in the animal soul. You see, so the godly soul, it has a sense of the 248 commandments rather than the 365. It has the idea of tahara and kedusha rather than tameh. And so the whole point of all this is that there's a primal celibacy that actually came down from the Essenes. And these Essenes didn't since that everything is covered. One of the things that I've read recently is the kaver is a tomb and it's also a womb. You see? And that's the whole idea of the woman being tameh at birth for 7 days. And it's the whole idea of the bris on the 8th day after waiting 7 days. And that the beginning of life in the womb of the child is actually the beginning of death. That's why he has to wait 7 days for the bris. The death instinct is in that womb. So a womb and a tomb are both a kever. It's a cover. And a beautiful gematria of the word kever is kuf, bet, resh, with a 510 with the resh yud, shin. And that comes to 1008 plus 9 letters is 1018 plus 1017 rather. That's my symbol of the hay and the olive. And if you add 1 to that, it's 1018. So kever represents the Shema at 1018. And this is a big deal. You see how both things are in its opposite and in its connection. And in the Shema, too, one has to see that. So a good meditation for the Shema is the word kever, right in it. See? And this is a cover, you see. I think all information has been covered and can't be, can't be found for people. So, how do you remove the cover? In a certain sense, that cover is no different than the bris, you see. We're left with a cover, and so we have to extirpate that cover. It's a natural cover. Well, these are just some thoughts about how these are, where I am at the present moment for all these things. Yesterday I came up with my phrase of that the will to win is the will to lose, which is not much different than this womb and tomb in the same spot. It's different perspectives of the same thing. And so a lot has transpired already this morning emotionally for me about friends and arguments and things like this. And this is where I am right now.